Hello everyone. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to do the smooth mesh for some tricky objects. Of course there are many ways to do this, and each creature that you have in the scene has its own challenges, and you need to figure out how you want to smooth the mesh. But here I'm going to show you a couple of important things that would be good to have in mind when you do the smooth mesh, okay? So first I'm going to start by duplicating this low poly group, Control D, and then I'm going to rename this to Smooth Mesh Preview. And then I'm going to click on the low poly version, hit H on my keyboard to hide it, and then I'm starting to work. So let's start with this one. This is the most tricky one. So here there's something, I put some notes in the assignments, but here I'm going to show you how to insert edge loop and smooth this mesh. So if I hit 3, I can see that it turns into a blob, okay? So the first thing that I notice is that, so as I hit 1 and 3, I can see the volume of this shape is reduced on the top and on the bottom, okay? So the first thing that I want to do is to create maybe 1 or 2 edge loops here and here, so it preserves the volume of this shape, and also kind of closer to 90 degree, not like this really smooth surface, okay? So I'm just gonna go shift right click, insert edge loop tool, and I'm gonna just add 1 edge loop here and 1 edge loop here. So one thing to keep in mind is that when you're adding edge loops and you're creating this smooth mesh preview, make sure to check it once in a while. Just don't go in and insert too many edge loops and then hit 3 to see how they look, because you shouldn't just do it too much, okay? So now I can see it's definitely better. It's holding its shape. So what I'm gonna do now is, I think if I would be able to add another edge loop here, that would preserve the volume better in this surface too. So let me go to my custom shelf. I have insert edge loop tool here. So I click on the insert edge loop tool and it doesn't work. The reason is that, as I put in the notes, the insert edge loop tool, it actually goes into only the quads. It means that faces that have 4 edges, okay? So if I come here and let me just grab the file from the assignment that I created for you. So as you can see here, I'm just gonna bring it up into this scene. This is like insert edge loop tool car. This is like a metaphor for the insert edge loop tool. So imagine when the insert edge loop tool wants to go inside, like create an edge loop in the mesh, it's gonna look at the edges on both its side, and if they're like a road, if there are 2 sets of edge loops and they're all four-sided faces, it's gonna go in. But when it gets to n-gons, which are faces that have more than 4 sides and also getting 2 holes into mesh, it's gonna stop, okay? So in this case, there is no 4-sided edges here, sorry, 4-sided faces here. So it just doesn't know how to do it, right? But if you insert edge loop tool here, it's gonna go through this set of faces because they all have 4-sided, because they're all 4-sided faces, right? But it's gonna stop at the triangle. But if you go to your vertex mode, you can see that it creates this 1 polygon on the triangle. So what it means is that now this polygon, this triangle, before it was a triangle, right? But when it created this edge and it stopped here, now this is a 4-sided face although it looks like a triangle, it is not a triangle anymore. It has 4 sides. Like if I just drag this to the side, make it more look like a like this, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So although it looks like a triangle, it is not a triangle anymore. It looks like a triangle, but it has 4 edges, right? So the next time that you go and you want to insert edge loop here, it's going to go inside that face. And that's something that gets really tricky. And this is what I talk about here, like insert edge loop tool and triangles. It goes until it gets to a triangle and it stops, but it makes the triangle to be a 4-sided face. And the next time that you use the insert edge loop tool, the insert edge loop tool is going to be like, oh, there's a road, I can just go in because it has 4-sided. Because I see the road, I'm just going to go in, and then it's going to stop at the next triangle. And then the next triangle is going to get into a 4-sided edges. So that's all the mess that insert edge loop tool creates if you try like adding it here. So beside the problem that I mentioned here, that it's going to just go crazy and create this weird shapes, like because this is a 4-sided face and this is a 4-sided face, then insert edge loop tool is going to go here and then round it up, go here. It just finds a path that is not meant to be for it, right? And beside this, if you go to object mode and hit 3 on the keyboard, you can see that you get this weird shadow here. Why? Because this, the whole shape of this is supposed to be a cylinder, and it is supposed to be a smooth. And it looks smooth because all the edges are spread around the surface of it, like symmetrically. But when you insert 2 edge loops here, you break the symmetry, right? And because these edges are so close, Maya is gonna try to hold them like the way that they are, and it's gonna show them as like hard edges, right? So what I'm gonna do here is just gonna Control Z to get back to before I insert edge loop tool here. So if you want to add edge loop, so there are 2 sides of things to this challenge here. So one would be, then how do I make these objects to not look like this when they are connected to, like, not the objects, sorry, these parts that are extruded. How do I make them look more sharp and not so smooth? And the other thing would be then how to create another edge loop here so the volume of this surface is preserved better, right? So let's tackle them one by one. First, let's start with the top one. So we said that insert edge loop tool needs 2 sets of nice, beautiful edge loops so it can go, or inside them, 4-sided edges. So we need to add more geometry to this surface, the way that the exact same edge loop that we have around, we get another one inside it. So we're thinking about the ways that we can add geometry, right? One of the ways was to insert edge loop. The other one that you might have forgot is, what? Did you hear extrusion? Did I hear extrusion? Yes, that's right. Extrusions. So remember when we did with the when we were working with the candle holder, we were selecting the faces and we would use the extrusion in the scale mode to get another edge loop. That's exactly what we're going to do here. So I selected the top faces. I look around so I don't do double extrusions on the faces that I don't want. And then I do shift, right click, extrude face. How do we do scale in extrusion? Yes, that's right. We click on this cube, any of those cubes. Click on it just once, don't drag, just click, flop. When you click it, it's gonna turn into the scale mode, okay, for extrusion. And then you can grab this square here and scale everything down. You can see, well, you can just do this or you can do this. I would rather do this because this gives me more space to work with. Like if I needed to add another edge loop, I would just go in and create them here, and the triangle area gets reduced to this. Okay, so now what I have here is these two edges that I can just insert edge loop tool in between them, right? So you can see this is one edge loop and this is another edge loop, right? So now if I go to object mode and do insert edge loop tool, then I'm able to insert the edge loop, right? Because I created this. And so this way, I have this whole area to work with. So let's hit 3 to see how it did it. So voila, it did it. It did it right. So you can see the difference between the top and the bottom now, right? So you can go ahead and do it with the bottom part. I'm just going to do this because I want to show you some other things too. I'm just going to select the bottom faces and then do shift right click, extrude, and then click this cube, scale it down. I'm just going to go to my hard surface preview so you can see what I'm doing, and this looks good. Okay. So now I can just go in and insert another edge loop here. Don't go in and just add edge loops, just take a look at it in this smooth mesh preview. It looks good, so I'm not going to go in and add more edge loops, right? This is the first challenge that we tackled. So the second challenge would be, in case you wanted to insert, okay, let's save this for the last. Okay, so we're gonna go in here, right? And we want to make this part that is connecting these two to look not as smooth as it is. So one way would be to add edge loops on this surface. The other one would be to add edge loop on this part of the object. And the smartest way to do it is to add edge loop here instead of there. Why? Because this, as I said, is a cylinder and it's symmetrical, and if you insert edge loops here, regardless of creating that messy thing with the triangles, it's gonna ruin the smooth preview of the cylinder, right? So to preserve this edge loop here, to make it look closer to 90 degree as it is, what I'm gonna do is to insert edge loop here, and this is a smart way that Tessa was doing. So thank you, Tessa, for showing me this, because I was thinking it all in the wrong way. So yeah, the good way of smoothing this face is to add one edge loop here. So let's hit 3. Let's see how it looks. It's not going to show it because we just added one. So I'm going to add another one here so it preserved this. Then let's take a look. Well, it's better. It's better, not perfect yet. So again, I'm going to hit 1 and let's do 1 here. Well, it's better, but still it smooths it. It needs some edge loops around here too. So I'm just going to go ahead and add maybe 1 here. Let's see how it does with just 1. Well, it's definitely better. So what I'm gonna do is, I think I need like more than 1, so I'm just gonna pull this one up because it's a shape that is like a cylinder. It doesn't like go in angles up. I can just move these edges up, right? It doesn't ruin the shape of the object that I have. So I'm just gonna do this, then I'm gonna do insert edge loop to add another edge loop here. Let's see how it does. Yeah, and don't look at the other ones. I haven't added the edge loops for them, but this one, this is good. Okay. So yeah, that would be one way of doing this. If you're thinking about adding edge loops here, you get to the same issue that I was mentioning before, creating a four-sided triangle look-like thingy on the top. it's not a good choice for this object, because you can see as I do that I get this hard edge here, because let me just turn on the you can see that because I added this edge here, Maya is trying to preserve this hard edge, but it's not doing it for the other ones. And if you do it even for the other ones, you get a really weird shape cylinder. Okay, but let's say that's something you want to do for the other objects that you actually they're not symmetrical, and it is not important that you're doing this. To avoid creating those mess to avoid creating that mess that Insert Edge Loop tool creates when it gets the triangles, there are like sneaky ways to avoid that. So again, if you look at these notes, it says, when does the edge loop stop? So it doesn't stop when it gets the triangles, right? It creates a four-sided face for itself, and the next time you use it, it's just going to go through and it's going to do all those unpredicted things. So what you can do is that you can create a dead end for the Insert Edge Loop tool through creating n-gons and holes. Okay, n-gons, well, if you remember to get rid of the n-gon later, that's a good way, but for this shape specifically, it's good to create a hole. Then once you're done with the edge loop, you can just go in and fill the hole and just be done with it. Okay, so what I can do here is I'm gonna go to face mode, select all these top faces, hit 4 to control drag the faces that I don't want, going back to my shaded preview. So I'm just gonna delete them like this. Okay, I'm also gonna do the same for the bottom ones. Again, hitting 4 on my keyboard, getting rid of the faces that I don't want, holding down control and drag over them, hitting 6 to get back to my shaded textured preview, and I'm gonna hit delete. Okay, so I created this hole here. Now if what you want to do is to create edge loops around here, you can go ahead and do so. And the good thing is that where's my shell? Here. So the good thing is Insert Edge Loop tool, it just cannot go in. It's not a triangle. It cannot do anything. It's like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna stop here because there's a hole, right? So for example, if you want to create like a hardened edge here, like this, it's not gonna work again for this specific shape. You don't want to smooth the mesh like this. But if that was something you intended to do, like for any other shape in your creature, so you can see here now that it is not creating that mess. And once you're done, completely done, not a little bit done, once you're completely done with the Insert Edge Loop tool for that object, you can just double click on that hole that you created and do Shift right click, fill hole. Okay, it's gonna create an n-gon. You can hit 1, and here is something that I want to share with you. I know I said n-gons are the worst thing in the world, but they're a little bit acceptable if they're on a flat surface like this. So if you have an n-gon here, it's gonna look so weird when you like want to render it, when you look at it in the smooth mesh preview. It's gonna be a mess. And also Maya, most of the times it doesn't know how to do the actual smooth mesh. It's just gonna ruin your shape if you have a big n-gon. But this in a flat surface, it's not that much of a big deal. You can go in and just use the multi-cut tool to to reduce the amount of doing something like this. It doesn't matter as long as it is in a flat surface. See what I'm saying? Flat. If you have a curved face and you create a big n-gon, that's a no-no. Okay, so I'm just gonna go in. No, not you. Just gonna hit enter. But I can go here and just connect the two. It doesn't matter how I connect them. The edge flow is not important. Again, why? Because it is on a flat surface. But because I'm not optimistic about having n-gons in the mesh, that's my choice. I'm gonna just go in and get rid of all the n-gons. You can see this is now a four-sided edge. face, and all the rest are the same. It's an ugly edge flow here, but it doesn't matter because if I click away and I get rid of this view, you don't see anything because it is flat, right? So now if I hit 3, I can see that where was the one that we worked on? Okay, this one. Yeah. This is looking good regardless of these edges, okay? The other thing that I wanted to show you with the Insert Edge Loop tool, we worked, actually I showed you this with the hinge, but I just want to show it to you again in case you forgot. So Extrude Face, I'm just gonna go up and rotate this face a little bit like this. Well, no, I want to do rotate because I want to keep it straight. So I'm just gonna go to vertex, just gonna select all the vertices, push it down, and then I'm gonna go to face smooth again and do shift right click extrude. I'm not gonna use this arrow because I want to go straight up, so I hit W on my keyboard again, going to vertex mode and creating a shape like this. Okay, so you're gonna see in a minute why am I doing this. So let's say you want to preserve these edges, right? Let's just pull this one down and pull this one down so we have a little bit of more space here. So when I hit 3, you can see it's a blob again. But so you think, yeah, that's a good way. We're just gonna go in and insert edge loop tool. So let's just do that. Let's just go to object mode, shift right click, insert edge loop tool, and I'm just gonna add one edge loop here, and let's just, yeah, okay. So I need to add another one here, and then another one here. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. So you might want to add an edge loop here, but you might not want it to be like in this angle, right? You might want it to be straight like this. So one way to tackle this, it's doing this again, insert edge loop tool, as I said, it's going to look at the two edges that are around it, and because they're in an angle, it's just going to, you know, pick an average of these two angles and be like, okay, so I'm going to just create this. So if your shape allows you to do that, you can hit Q to get out of that insert edge loop tool. Select that edge loop. You can hit R on the keyboard, and you can, based on the shape that you have, you can scale edge loop to look flat. See what I did there? I'm not scaling everything because it's going to ruin this. I'm just not scaling in this direction. I'm scaling in the direction of the object like this. In this case, it's in the Y direction to make it flat, right? And so, yeah, I can do again, shift right click. Oops, not extrude everything. So I'm just gonna do shift right click, insert. Where are you? Insert edge loop tool. Insert edge loop tool. Okay. So I'm just gonna do this. It's gonna look like this. I don't want it. Just gonna hit R and scale it like this. So now you have these two set of edges that are like parallel. They're not in an angle. So the next time that you create the edge loop, because the edges that are on the top and bottom of it, they're straightened out. So it's gonna be a straight, right? Because the average of these two, it's still a straight. They're not in an angle. So I hope this is helpful. So yeah, I think that's all. Have fun smoothing your meshes. And one more thing. Okay, so if you have like a complicated shape in the scene and you're doing a little bit of, you're like, okay, I really need it to look as sharp as it is. I don't want to smooth the mesh on this. That's fine too. Okay, it's and we can talk about this in the class. Okay, have fun.